October 30th, 1987, Japanese technology company NEC first released their PC engine, known as TurboGrafx 16 in North America, and with it, NEC inaugurated the fourth generation of video game consoles. The Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo dominated console sales at the time, and with that market supremacy came a whole new style of games, 16-bit graphics. This style of graphics is aptly named after the 16-bit integers of data, and I didn't pay enough attention in my computer science classes to accurately explain this, so we'll just move right on. The games coming out in that era would start the foundation of many great game franchises. Games like Chrono Trigger, Street Fighter II, Donkey Kong Country, Mortal Kombat, Super Metroid, and Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. 7 years later, Square released its newest title in its series, Final Fantasy VI. This had a huge impact on the lives of many gamers, and most notably, Matthias Linde. Growing up in Germany, Linde was immersed in the worlds of Final Fantasy VI, Xenogears, Terra Enigma, Secret of Mana, Suikoden 2, The Legend of Dragoon, and more. All these games were used to inspire this 2022 title, Chained Echoes. Welcome to Totally Relevant Reviews, where the most difficult thing about making these videos is pronouncing words. You can most clearly see these inspirations in the visual art style of Chained Echoes, but even in the gameplay as well. Combat takes place when you interact with monsters and enemies in the overworld. Like games like Final Fantasy Tactics, you see the combat from the side, where your characters and enemies take actions based on their agility stat. Chained Echoes is a JRPG released in 2022 after a successful 3-year Kickstarter campaign and a 6-year development. This game was developed single-handedly by Matthias Linde, with help from Eddie Marinukrow with the music. Chained Echoes takes place in the world of Volandis, a continent being torn apart by centuries of war between 3 rival kingdoms. The prologue opens up on the eve of a great battle, where you follow 2 mercenaries as they lead the vanguard against the Kingdom of Terran. During the prologue, you get a taste of the combat mechanics and gameplay loop, and as you enter Act 1, you get introduced to the other areas of the game, like the map exploration and the multiple characters. You can field up to 8 characters in your battle formation, but only 4 can be used in combat at a time. Throughout the story, you recruit 12 characters and can use 8 of them in battle. There's a neat little mechanic where you can have 4 of your starting formations enter the battle, while the other 4 can be switched out each turn, allowing you to have a very diverse playstyle and gives you the option to change the way you do battle. With 12 unique characters, there's so much you can do, and while there are favorite characters that are better than others, you can use all of them and have just as much fun. The characters are well designed, have interesting backstory, and have different moves and mechanics to combat. In the second act of the game, you get Sky Armor. Now these things are just plain cool. You can use them in combat situations and also to move around the map, flying over obstacles that stop you on foot. While combat on foot has a lot of variety, the Sky Armors are much more simplified. You don't have the huge move pool of active and passive abilities that you would have on foot, but you trade that for pure, raw strength. These guys are just so fun to explore the map, reach usually inaccessible areas, and fight new, tougher enemies that would wipe you on foot. The Sky Armors and the new characters join the team as you progress the story. Some join you in the main campaign, while some join in side missions, and like traditional RPGs, you get introduced to some of these characters early in the game, only for them to join way later. I really enjoyed the story of Chained Echoes. You follow several characters, each with their own backstories and mysterious history, as they are forced to work together to stop an upcoming war. There's really so much more to the story, and want you guys, my lovely viewers, to experience it also. Chained Echoes takes a lot of inspiration from older JRPGs, and you can see that in the art style, abilities, character tropes, and the way combat flows. Every level up allows you to choose between an active ability, passive ability, and stat gains. You can then choose up to 8 skills to use in battle and up to 5 passives. After every battle, you get skill points that can level up and strengthen your skills. This is very similar to one of my favorite games, Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced, which most likely took that from an older Final Fantasy title. There's one aspect I really love about this game. You can only level up with Grimoire Shards, which you get after each main boss and mini-boss. So there's no grinding to get stronger. You can only get a certain amount of shards before having to progress to the next story quest. Each boss can be beaten with the skills and items that you have at that time. It's a matter of tactics whether you beat the bosses or not. The enemies are really well designed, they're unique, creative, and just simply look great too. Every location has unique mini-bosses that are very strong, requiring you to change up your strategies or even come back to them once you're leveled up. 2 of my favorite games growing up were Fire Emblem and Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced, so I love this 16-bit art style. That's what initially drew me to the game. I'm a sucker for any game with this art style, But more than just the art, I love the story, the steampunk fantasy aesthetic, all of it. I can't recommend this game enough, and it's not just the game. The music is stunning, simply amazing. Different areas of the world have different musical themes, all composed by Eddie and Mariana Crowe. The 2-hour soundtrack is spectacular, thrilling, and heartwarming all at the same time. If I can sum up this game in one word, it would be nostalgia. But it's a good nostalgia, not like the games and movies that South Park was making fun of.
Remember Ghostbusters? Oh,
And that's what Linda was trying to achieve. In an interview with Touch Arcade, Linda said, "And think of these old games as you remember them, not as they actually were." Boom, you got Chained Echoes. And I think he nailed it spot on. It very much reminds me of my time playing Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced. And in Chained Echoes, there's plenty of little secrets to search the world for, puzzles to solve, unique mini-bosses, so many things for you to get 100% on the game, and many of those things are optional. You can just go through Chained Echoes by doing the story, but I really loved completing all of these optional rewards. So much of my gameplay was just doing little side missions, beating mini-bosses, general tedious completionist things. But when I was doing the story mission, I was really enjoying it. Chained Echoes starts with a pretty simple story that increases the pace of the plot as you progress. Trying to stop a war breaking out turns into a hidden group trying to resurrect an all-powerful deity. Some complain that the story of Chained Echoes is too complex, but honestly, those people are dumb. What's too complex about souls reincarnating through time, double-crossing, corrupt governments, triple-crossing, more betrayal, more hidden agendas, all-powerful beings trying to save the world by destroying it, a mysterious and corrupt church? How is that hard to grasp? Okay, it does get lost in the sauce a bit. A lot of questions don't get answered, plot points just get forgotten, but I don't mind too much. I honestly like it. Just like Linda said in his interview, that's how I remember the story of these older games of my childhood. I didn't quite understand them, so they seem so complex and convoluted. In Chained Echoes, there are plenty of unanswered questions that I would love to see them answered in maybe some DLC content or even a sequel. I don't usually grind out games. I played War Tales for about 20 to 40 hours when I started writing my review, and I have 149 hours after the review is done, and I still haven't finished all the content. Yes, Chained Echoes is a smaller game with a linear story, so naturally it's not going to have the same amount of content that other games will have. So if you're looking for a game to play for weeks or months on end, look somewhere else. But if you want a game that feels like those old titles you played as a kid, a game that you can grind out for all the Steam achievements, a game that looks great, sounds even better, play Chained Echoes. I can't recommend it enough. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like and subscribe to stay in the loop for more videos. I have a lot of stuff planned out that I'm really excited for.